Right. So this is the 2017 marking scheme. So since I'm starting the recording now, I just have the marking scheme just for a second. So someone who is referring that will be able to have the marking scheme. Right. Then let's shift to the paper. So according to the questions, incorrect answers that you have provided, first I have to discuss the seventh one. Seventh one. Which of the following is a main use of complementary metal oxide semiconductor? So that is CMOS. Now, CMOS memory, you have to be... Do you like my slippers? Yes, Suzu, that is very good. Right, so regarding the CMOS is talking when we are talking the boot up process, right? So as you can remember, when the boot up is happening, BIOS is the first ROM or the memory that we are going to access, basic input output system. In there, with the help of CMOS memory, it will check the basic things, or like the RAM is fixed, whether the GPU is working properly, whether the computer is on the proper temperature, and all the input output devices, basic input output devices are connected to the computer. So those will be checked regarding the CMOS memory, right? So that is the purpose of the CMOS. So BIOS and CMOS both are relating or are helping for the boot up process, right? So the question is asking about the same thing. Which of the following is a main use of CMOS memory in a personal computer? So keeping input for processing? No, it is not. And holding instructions for operations? No. Providing space for loading operating system? No, that is given by the memory, not from the CMOS. Retaining information for output? Not actually. Should be the fifth one. Keeping basic input output system settings for the booting procedure, right? So the fifth one is going to be the answer for the seventh, right? Okay, then the eighth, the execution of a series of non-interactive jobs on a personal computer with relative to the user is known as, right? The execution of series of non-interactive jobs on a personal computer with relative to the user is known as, right? Abashita. Right now, yeah, let's take this. The execution of series of non-interactive jobs on a personal computer with relative to the user is known as, yeah. Now we can say it as multitasking because non-interactive jobs means like the processors that you can see in my computer. So like you can see Windows Explorer is open, Chrome is open, Zoom is open, Whiteboard is open, PDF is open. So these are non-interactive actually, right? So lots of programs happening in the same time simultaneously. So we can go for the multitasking, right? And yeah, as well as we can go for the multi-processing as well, right? How about the answer for these people? Yes, it's given as all. 8 is given as all. So yes, like multitasking, multi-processing can be taken, and batch processing, online processing, multi-user processing, they are a little bit remote from the answer, but here they are talking about non-interactive jobs are happening. A series of non-interactive jobs are happening. In each and every scenario, this is possible, right? So if it is a multi-user processing, if you like අපි team එකක් විදිහට ගත්තොත් අපි කට්ටියම එක OS එකක් පාවිච්චි කරනවා කියලා හිතන්න. So again, each and every one of us has separate processors. So if we are interacting with a Google document, so Google document is a one single process, but all of us are interacting. So each one of us has separate process in our device, right? So again, series of processes are being executed simultaneously, right? When it comes to the batch processing and online processing, it also going with that particular one. Oh, Bashita, yes, multi-user processing should be a server computer, right? Habai personal computer එකක් අපිට server එකක් විදියට configure කරගන්න පුළුවන් වාශිත. So like එතනදී අපි කියන්නේ නැහැ like it should be like the server type ම වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. Right? අපි multi-user කතා කරනකොට we really talk about the server type computer is accessed by many different users. But අපිට පුළුවන් configure කරගන්න. And again මේ multi-user processing එකක් කිව්වම පාශිත we can take something like Google Docs as well. Google Docs එකක personal computer එකකින් interact වීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවනේ. Right? එතනදී ඒ පැත්තෙන් ඒ aspect එකෙන් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්න නැත්තේ. එතන all කියලා දෙන්න හේතුව මේවයි පොඩි glimpse තියෙනවා. ඔය කියන concept එකට අල්ල ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? ඕක තව ටිකක් වැඩිපුර explain කරලා දුන්නා නම් අපිට පුළුවන් මේක මේ එක තැනකට හිර කරගන්න. Right? So that is because of that they may go on with the all answer. So anyway, any answer is given as a correct answer in there. All right? Okay, so the 11th one, then after our fourth one, Bashti said the fourth one. Yeah, which of the following is another name for web publishing? Right now, web publishing means what? We are having a particular website or particular online resource available for the others to get access. Right? Api publish කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක. web එකේ publish කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක. Right? If you upload a YouTube, you are uploading the YouTube video. If you upload a video to the YouTube, you are uploading the video to the YouTube means you are publishing the video. Right? So web publishing indicates a way that everyone can access that resource through an internet kind of media or through online. Right? So definitely it is not offline publishing. Right? Definitely it's not desktop publishing because it is only limited to the desktop. Right? Media publishing, there are different kinds of. Internet can be taken as a one of a media, but we can't directly relate it to the web publishing. Right? And self-publishing, I haven't asked anything about self-publishing, but online publishing is the most appropriate one. Right? Okay, so then the 11th one. What is the binary representation of 9.25? Yes. Yeah, this is the first time that they were checking something like this on a paper, even though we have learned it from the beginning of the syllabus, right? So 9.25 in decimal, right? So 9.25 in decimal. So what we have to do is we have to represent 9 separately, 0.25 separately. We have to do the calculations separately, right? For 9, like you can take it by dividing 2 because they are asking of the binary representation. So 4 and 1 is remaining. Again, 2 and 0 is remaining. Again, 1 and 0 is remaining, right? So 9 can be written as 1, 0, I'm sorry. 1, 0, 0, 1. That is 9. So how about the 0.25? 0.25 must be multiplied by 2. Here we are dividing it by 2, the whole number. The decimal part, only the decimal part should multiply it by 2. So the answer is going to be 50 and 2 decimal places. When you are writing the answer, you should write the integral part as well. And until when we are going to do this? Until the answer is getting all zeros in the answer side, right? So here they don't have all zeros in the decimal part. So what they are doing is they take 0.5. They multiply it by 2. Then it is 10 and 1 decimal point. Now the decimal side has all zeros. So what are you going to refer? You are going to refer the whole number part of the answers from top to bottom. Right? මෙතනදී යන්නේ යට ඉඳලා උඩට, decimal part එකේ ඉන්නේ උඩ ඉඳලා යටට. Right? So the answer is going to be 0 and 1 for the 0.25. Right? And again, here they are trying to represent it using the 8-bit representation. So it's easy. Your answer is right over here. So first 4 places, they filled it by zeros, right? So the second one is going to be your answer. People, is that clear?
So excuse me, පොඩි අවුලක් තියෙනවා.
කියන්න.
දැන් සර් 0.25 වෙනුවට 0.15 වගේ කියන්නේ අර 25 ගුණාකාරයක් නැතුව
එකක් ආවොත් දීලක ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඔයාගේ උත්තරේ දිහා බලලා තමයි ඔයාට උත්තර දෙන්න වෙන්නේ. දැන් මෙතන තියෙන දශම ස්ථාන දෙකකට ගියපු අවස්ථානේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට. එතකොට ඔයාට 0.15 ආවොත් හිතන්නකො 0.15 ආවා කියලා. එතකොට උත්තරේ හැටියට දශම ස්ථාන දෙකකට පෙන්නනවා. දැන් 0.15 ගියාම 15 ඉන්නේ 30යිනේ. ඒතර 0.3. ඊපස්සේ 0.3 අරගෙන ආයි දෙකෙන් වැඩි කරනවා. එතකොට එන්නේ 6නේ. 0.6. දශම ස්ථාන දෙකයි නම් ඕක බිඳුවයි බිඳුව වගේ තමයි අපිට තියන්න වෙන්නේ. වඩා හොඳයි වැටීමක් රවුන්ඩ් කරන එකක් අරගන්න ඊළඟ එකත් බලනවා. 0.6 into 2 එතකොට ආට එනවනේ 1.2. එතකොට places 3කට ගියොත් 001 places 2කට ගියොත් එහෙම 00 කියලා තමයි යන්න වෙන්නේ. clear දීලක?
අර සර් ප්ලේසස් එකකට ගියොතින් එහෙමයි දෙකකට ගියොතින් ඒක චුට්ටක් ආයි කියන්නේ ඒක
ඒ කියන්නේ අපි අර රවුන්ඩ් කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ රවුන්ඩින්
ඔව් නෑ වට යන කණ එක
ඔව් එතකොට මේක 001 තිබ්බොත් right ඔක places 3ක් right මේක decimal places දෙකකට යන්න ගියොත් ඔයාලට මෙතනින් බ්ලොක් කරගන්න වෙනවා. right එතකොට අපි අර 10 සංඛ්‍යාවක් වට එනකොට නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියනවානේ වම් අත පැත්තේ තියෙන කෙනා දකුණු අත පැත්තේ තියෙන කෙනා 5 හෝ ඊට වැඩි නම් මේ පැත්තට එකක් එකතු කරගන්න යන්න කියලා. ඉතින් මේක බයිනරි වලට එනකොට ඒක ටිකක් කන්ෆ්ලික්ටිං. right අපිට පොඩ්ඩක් හිතන්න පුළුවන් දැන් 1 කියලා කියන්නේ දෙකෙන් භාගය නිසා ඕනනම් මේක 0.1 කියන තැනට ගිහලා නතර කරගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඒ තරම් දුරට ඕගොල්ලන්ව පුෂ් කරන එකක් නැහැ. right හරිම විදිහ ගත්තොත් ඇත්තට මේ පැත්තේ 1 තියෙන නිසා ඔයා මේක රවුන්ඩ් කරනකොට එන්න ඕනේ 0.1 කියලා. මොකද මෙයා රෙප්‍රසන්ට් කරන්නේ 10 පාදෙන් ගියොත් 5. ඒ තරම් ගැඹුරට එන එකක් නැහැ මේ දීලක. රවුන්ඩින් වගේ පැත්තකට. right හොඳම දේ අර ආන්සර් එකත් එක්ක මැච් කරගෙන යන එක. මේගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ සිම්ප්ලිෆිකේෂන්ස් කියන්නේ මේ වගේ කැල්කියුලේෂන් එනකොට මේ දෙකෙන් ಗುಣ වෙන එකක් එක්ක තමයි ඔයගලන්ට වැඩ කරන්න දෙන්නේ. right clear දීලා.
ඔව් සර්.
okay right then 14th yeah sorry consider the submit button of an HTML form given below. Which of the following tag or element correctly implements the indented function of the above submit button? Sasit, thank you very much. I was trying to ask. So it is 15, 19, 20, 35, 40, and 45. Okay, great. Right, so in 14, they are asking which of the following tags or element correctly implement the indented function of a above submit button. Right, so they are talking about the submit button. Right, so if it is a submit button, type should be submit. Right, and as you can see, the button contains the word submit starting from a capital S. Right, so input type should be a submit. So for that reason, the second and the third are going to be disqualified, right? Because they say the type as button. And in the first 4 and 5th, they take the type as submit. Then since we are getting capital S as submit, so the value should be a submit word, which is starting from a capital S, right? And again, it should be an input tag. So again, here they are starting from something called button. These things are going to be disqualified again, right? So eventually input type submit is going to be the answer, the first one, right? Second and third is wrong because of the type. Fourth and fifth is wrong because of the element that they are using, right? So we really don't need to bother about the value. It's just input type submit should be there clearly, right? So the first one is going to be your answer for the 14th. The 15th, which of the following CSS rules render the image in the file school.png as the background? Hold on. Yes, as the background of a web page. Yeah. Now, if we are going to introduce a background image, we have to use what? When it comes to the backgrounds, it's going to be background dash image, right? If it is a background color, it's going to be background dash color, right? So definitely it's background dash image. So because of that, first one is disqualified, second one is disqualified, right? Because those contains background only, right? And we know when we are writing a CSS, there should be a specific property name and there should be a colon then after. Now here they have used an equal sign. So because of that, third one is disqualified. So it is either the fourth or the fifth, right? So when we are introducing or when we are giving a background image, we should use URL. And within brackets, we have to give what's the name of the image by limiting the double quotes. That's one other place where we can find the double quotes in the CSS, right? So we generally don't use any double quotes with the CSS rules. We are just saying what is the property name, colon, what is the value, and the semicolon. But there are few places where they use double quotes. One place is this. The other famous place is when we are introducing the fonts, font family, colon. If your font name is going to have more than one word, it's going to have double quotes to limit that. If you want to say like font family, if you say something like Arial, you don't need anything. But if you goes with the Times New Roman kind of things, then you should have double quotes because this contains 3 words, right? So that is another place where we are going to use the double quotes with the CSS, right? So for that reason, 5th one is going to be your correct answer. 4th is going to be wrong because it misses the URL part. Right? Okay, moving to the 16th. In electronic mail system, the protocol used by the mail client to retrieve message from the mail server, right? So now when it comes to the email, now you have the idea about how to view a particular email. That is by visiting to your particular email account, which is going to give you a web page initially, right? So there, if you have the Gmail account, you will say, okay, this is www.gmail.com, right? So if you are retrieving the message, it's going to give you something from the website, something from through a web page. අපි email එක බලනකොට අපිට පෙන්නන්නේ එක web page එකක් through. එතනදී අපි බලන එක සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ HTTP protocol එක හරහා, hypertext transfer protocol එක හරහා. Right? But බලන තැනට email එක ගෙන්න ගන්න. Right? නැත්නම් server එකෙන් අපේ machine එකේ browser එකට email content එක communicate කරන්න අපිට ඕන වෙනවා IMAP කියන protocol එක. Right? So internet message access protocol is going to be the one which is helping to do this. Right? When the email client is retrieving message from the email server, it is internet message access protocol. Right? So the answer is going to be the fourth one. This is kind of a new, so it's better you learn from this. And this SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, this is taking care of sending a mail from one particular device to another particular device. Right? එතකොට අපි HTTP use කරනවා අපේ email එක compose කරගන්න. Then after once we click the send button, our email will be sent to a particular another email server or to the recipient. So that transmission, not that transferring part, the transportation part is taken care of Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP. Right? So එතකොට අපි ඔක පොඩක් clearly තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. Right? So I will draw you a simple diagram over here. So if this is, let's say, computer A, I'll take this as PC A. Right? Let's say it is connected with a Gmail server because it has a Gmail account, and he is trying to send an email to a person who is having a Ymail email address. That means Yahoo. It's better we say Ymail. This is Ymail server. And there the receiver's computer, right? So he is the sender. He is the receiver, right? So when a particular mail is over here, retrieving that mail in this computer, right? ඔයාගේ Gmail account එකේට දැන් email එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඔයා ඒක බලනවා ඔයාගේ web browser එකෙන් PC එකේ තියෙන. Right? So to view, it helps HTTP. Right? To communicate from the server to the computer, it is the answer that we are talking about. IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol. Right, දීලක මං එන්නම් එතනට. Right, so server එකෙන් computer එකට communicate වෙන එක බලාගන්නේ IMAP කියන කෙනා. Right? Now you think they are going to send an email from the sender to receiver. So it will first send to the Gmail server. From Gmail server, it will move to the Ymail server. And from that again, it's going to receive over here. Right? ආයෙත් computer A වල ඉඳලා Gmail server එකට යන්න IMAP is helping. From Gmail server to Ymail server, it is SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Again, Ymail server to the receiver, IMAP take care of. right? And to view this email, it is HTTP. Is that clear, people? This is something new that they were talking in this paper. So it's better you learn the scenario from this place. People, is that clear? Right. So due to that, if you want to take this down, please take some time and take it down. I'll give you a minute or two.
සර් පුංචි දෙයක් තියෙනවා අහන්න 14 වෙනි MCQ එකේ සම්බන්ධ.
ඔව් දිලක.
අර සර් ඒක input type button කියන input type submit කියන එක වෙනුවට button આવුතින් ඒක අර invalid statement එකක් හින්දාද ඒක දෙවෙනි එක වැරදි කියලා ගත්තේ.
මෙහෙමයි input type button එක ආවම දීලක ඒක invalid නැහැ, ඒක valid. හැබැයි submit button එකක් විදිහට වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔතන අහන්නේ
submit button එකෙන් කරන දේ button එකෙන් කරන්න කියන එක.
button එකෙන් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක. අපි submit button එකෙන් කරන දේ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ submit button එකට විතරයි. ඒ කියන්නේ input type එක submit වුණොත් විතරයි ඔයාගේ form එකක තියෙන detail ඔයාට අනිත් පැත්තට යවා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. server එක side එකට යවා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. අපිට button එකක් දාලා button එක JavaScript වලින් වගේ code කරලා හදන්න පුළුවන්. තේරුණාද?
ඔව් සර්.
අරක ඒක නිකම්ම බටන් එකක් විතරයි. right? ඒතර බටන් types අපි තුනක් කතා කරනවානේ. එකක් submit, එකක් reset, අනිත් එක normal button එකක්. ඒතර input type button කිව්වොත් normal button එකක් වටිනවා. submit කිව්වොත් submit button එකක්, reset කිව්වොත් reset button එකක්. right?
හරි සර්. හරි.
Okay, so are we done with this diagram? Anyone who is still writing this? Okay, so moving forward. So for 16, it's the fourth one. So then the 17th that they're asking, right? So the question is the transport layer protocol, user datagram protocol can be used for. Yeah, now we have done this several times, neither in the previous papers. There were questions regarding UDPs and TCPs. The user datagram protocol, and we always talk these two together, TCP and UDP, because these are the protocols which create a suit with the internet protocol, right? Api connections ගැන කතා කරනවා TCP IP connections and again UDP IP connections, right? So මේ internet protocol කියන එක නා නිතරම බලන්නේ best effort delivery කියන එක කරගන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ like he's trying to deliver at its best, right? But it does not ensure the delivery, right? It tries to deliver as much as possible, but it won't ensure the delivery. If you really want the insurance, or like if you really want all the data from the sender side to be communicated with the receiver side, you have to go with the TCP IP. The reason is TCP is considered as a reliable communication protocol. So because of this, we tell this is a connection-oriented protocol, right? But this is comparatively slow. Why it is being comparatively slow? Because it ensures always, it checks always whether all the data is given to the other side, getting the acknowledgement and all these things. So this takes time, right? So eventually it is slow. And UDP/IP is not reliable. UDP is thinking about the speed of the communication, right? So because of that, we say this is not reliable or unreliable. And due to that, we say this is a connectionless protocol. And this is fast comparatively, right? So the best examples that you can take, here you can take the example as email. We never lose any data when we are communicating through the email. All the data which is sent by the sender will be received at the receiver's end. But it's comparatively slow. Email එකක් යවුවොත් ඒ වෙලාවෙම ඔයාට එන්නේ නැහැ. තප්පරයක් දෙකක් තුනක් පොඩි delay එකක් එක්ක එන්නේ. Right? Can be more than that. This is live streaming. Right? So in a scenario like live streaming, we need the data to be arrived at the receiver's place instantly. So speed matters. Like if you are watching a cricket match online using the live streaming, so you need to have the update in the same place at the same time, right? So sometimes you will see some glitches here and there. So that doesn't matter. They don't worry about that, the UDP. That is why it is called an unreliable one if the data is being lost. So they don't care about it. They try to deliver the message as soon as possible to the receiver's end. Right? So that is what you need to know regarding the TCP and UDP. So here they are talking about UDP. It says it's a reliable communication. No. Guaranteed delivery. No. Ordered delivery happens with the TCP. So it is no. Right? Hold on. Guaranteed delivery. Yeah, delivery, guaranteed delivery is, it is yes. Yeah. Ordered delivery is also happened with the TCP. Connection-oriented communication, no. So which leave us to the fifth one, exchange state information among routers. Right, then ඒක ටිකක් අපේ scope එකකින් එළියට ගියපු එකක්. But we can surely say the above things, the above four is not going to happen inside the TCP. Right? So මේ ඔගොල්ලෝ මේ comparison එක පොඩ්ඩක් ළඟ තියාගන්න එක වටිනවා. මෙතනට මේ points දෙකත් add කරගන්න. Right? So reliable කියන එකත් එක්කම guaranteed delivery කියන එකත් කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. Guaranteed delivery. This is not a guaranteed delivery. And ordered delivery. This is not doing the ordered delivery. Right? So that leaves us with the fifth answer. right? So they are always checking on these things, people. So you better be aware. Right, so if you want a minute or two to, I'm sorry. To have these things, so just have it. Okay, can we move forward? All right, Deelaka, 13th එක බලමු. 13th එක all එකක් කිව්වනේ. Okay, is there anyone still writing this? Can I move from this particular place? All right, so I'm going to move. Going back for the 13th. Yeah, so 13 says, consider the following HTML code. HTML head, title is there, countries is there. Then the head is closed, body, okay, body is closed. Then paragraph is there. Inside that you have a comment. Here you got a comment. So it doesn't matter what is there in between the comment. It's not going to give anything, right? So they're asking which of the following correctly describes the display when the above code is rendered. The text country. All then at the දීලක මෙන්න මෙතනට ගැටලුව මේකේ title එකේ තියෙන්නේ countries නේ. But in the answers they talk about country, something called country. ඕකයි ගැටලුව වෙන්නේ නැත්තේ. Spelling mistake එකක් තිබිලා තියෙනවා එතන. Right, එහෙම නැතුව country එක countries එනවා කියලා අපි assume කරොත් the text countries appears on the title bar and the text Sri Lanka appears at the header. No. Header එකේ නෑ මේක වෙන්නේ countries කියන එක title bar එකේ එනවා body එකේ මුකුත් පේන්නේ නෑ. මොකද body එකේ මෙතන තියෙන්නේ තනිකරම comment එකක්. So it shows body has nothing. Right? So එහෙම බැලුවොත් the third one is going to be the answer. If the word country replaced by the countries, right? All then at දීලක මේ country කියන වචනෙත් එක්ක ගිහිලා තියෙන නිසා. Clear දීලක? Right. Okay. All right. So where were we? In the 18th, right? Oh, yes. Next, the 18th. 18th is talking about which of the following statement regarding MAC addresses is correct, right? Every network device has a unique MAC address. And the problem is every network device, right? Usually the hosts have the MAC addresses, right? And switch is not generally is going to contain the MAC address, right? So you can't say every network device has a unique MAC address. So first one, it's not going to be true. Second one says every network host has a unique MAC address. Of course, that can be taken, right? We'll keep it and go. Third one says every network interface. Yes, that is a good answer. Every network interface has a unique MAC address. Now, MAC address is there, which is fixed to the network port, people. So if a particular device is having 2 network ports, that means it is going to have 2 MAC addresses, right? So the most suitable answer is going to be the third one. Every network interface has a unique MAC address, right? And in the fourth one, it says it is assigned for a device at the time of installation. No, it is fixed, right? So it is wrong. It is used for routing. No, routing use IP addresses, not the MAC addresses. MAC addresses are used to communicate within a particular network. That means LAN එකක් ඇතුලේ communicate කරනකොට. ඔයගලගේ school lab එකේ තියෙන computer එකක් school lab එකේ තියෙන computer එකක් එක්කම communicate කරනකොට.
She has a boo-boo.
Okay, Susu.
So we put a plaster on her.
Oh, okay.
But she still has a boo inside.
All right, it will be okay. Right, so MAC addresses are used to communicate within the network. Right, so MAC addresses are the reason, the readability of the MAC addresses by a switch is the reason for say that the switch is a intelligent device comparing to the hub. Switch එකට පුළුවන් එයා ගාවට එන data frame එකක packet එකක් ඇතුලේ තියෙන frame එකේ තියෙන MAC එක කියව ගන්න. MAC address එක කියව ගන්න. But hub does not have that ability. So when the switch reads the MAC address, it finds the MAC address in the network and send to the specific device. But hub cannot do this. So hub communicate the frame to all the devices in the network. So it creates an unnecessary traffic. No. Definitely not. The MAC addresses are going to be unique, right? And it's going to be unique regarding a network interface. Right now, if you take a router, even when it comes to the switch, you can argue on that case as well. Switch is having many different network ports, so it contains many different network හරියට ගත්තොත් අපි network interface card කියලා කියන්නේ network card එකට භාෂිත network interface එක කියලා අපි කියන්නේ network port එකට, right? Okay, right. All right, so for the 18th, third one is going to be the answer. Right, in 19th, to have a clear idea about the 19th, I'm going to erase these stuff. Right, in 19th, it is asking the first and the last IP addresses of a subnet are these particular things respectively. Which of the following is the subnet mask of this subnet? So people, they have given the first and the last IP addresses, right? So from the first and the last IP address, we will have some clue to determine how many net ID bits and how many host ID bits are there, right? So let's see. So the first address means the network address, right? So it is 192 dot, again 192 dot, 48.0. So this is the first IP. That means the network address. Right? So how we are going to define the network address? We are going to say keep net ID part as it is, put zeros to the host ID part. That is the argument. Right? So you can clearly see the fourth octet contains 0. That means 8 zeros will be there. Right? And 192.192.48 does not give any clue whether any bits belongs to the host ID from the third octet or not. තුන්වෙනි එක්කෙනාගෙන් bits කීපයක් අයිතිද නැද්ද කියන එක 48 වලින් අපිට නිගමනය කරගන්න බෑ. හැබැයි we can take a direct clue when we are looking to the broadcast address 192.192.63.255 it says. So 192.192.63.255. This is last IP. That means the broadcast. Now, how the broadcast address is given? It takes ones for the host ID part. It takes zeros for the net ID parts. I'm sorry, the net ID is going to be as it is and take ones to the host ID part. So as you can see, 255 in the last octet, it has 8 ones. So not to worry, that clearly belongs to the host ID part. And if you look closely about the third octet value, here it has 48, here it has 63. So definitely some of the bits from the third octet is going to belong to the net ID. That means the margin of the margin which separate the net ID and the host ID going to be in the third octet. Now we need to find out what is the point that is going to happen. So to do that, we have to extract the 48 and 63 separately and see where it finds things in common, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the 48 as well. So 48 going to generate how? 32 should be there, not 16. 8 should be there. 32 plus 8, it is 40. Oh, hold on. 32 plus 16. Yes, this clearly gives us 32 plus 16 going to give us 48. Yeah, so 48 going to represent like this. Right, so 48 going to represent 0, 0, 1, 1, 4 zeros. Then after 8 zeros will be there. And how the 63 is going to be? 63 is going to be like, there will be 6 ones and 2 zeros at the beginning. So 8 ones at the last octet. Now, look closely. 48 is going to give us a clue, right? Now, what is our theory regarding the network address and the broadcast address? Network address says keep the net ID as it is, change the host ID into all zeros. So by looking at, by considering that, we can figure out the net ID can be populated from this point onwards because it has all zeros after this point. Even if you think about the broadcast address, it defines keep the net ID part as it is and make the host ID into all ones. දැන් මෙයාගේ මෙතන ones දෙකක් already තියෙනවා net ID පැත්තේ. So those two ones belongs to the net ID. So from here onwards, it has 12 ones. So what we can tell is, we can say the margin is going to go from this point onwards. Like, what is the point? From the, this is going to, 192 is going to be as it is. This 192 is going to be as it is. So 16 bits. Then after this 4 bits belongs to the net ID. Means after the 20th bit, the host ID part can be there. Right? So in the 19th, definitely not the first one. So the best way is, let's figure out what the subnet is. So the subnet is what? Subnet mask. So now we know our thing is going to have 20 bits for the net ID and 12 bits to the host. So 20 bits of ones, that means 8 ones for the first octet, 8 ones to the second octet, 4 ones to the third octet, 4 zeros in the third octet again, and 8 zeros in the last octet. So that defines 255.255 dot. This is going to give you what? 240.0. This is going to be your subnet mask. So do we got any answer? Yeah, the fourth answer. 19th. Yeah, the fourth answer is the answer. Right, so this is how we are going to figure that out. So to figure this out, you need to have the knowledge of figuring out what is a network address, what is a broadcast address. Is this clear, people? Right, great. Okay, I'll give you a minute if you need to write this down. Right, it's better you write this down if you got this wrong, right? Okay, are we done? Anyone who is still writing? Okay, so let's continue. Moving to the 21st. In TCP/IP computer networks, Transport Protocol Data Unit, TPDU, is referred to as, so now TCP/IP computer network it says, right? So they have given packet, frames, segments, windows, and messages, right? They are talking about what? Transport Protocol Data Unit, right? So when it comes to the Transport Protocol Data Unit, TPDU, now normally the PDUs are going to indicate the particular component. 20 minutes now. Yes. Hari, දීලා ඉන්න මේ කතා කරලා අපි කතා කරමු. Let me show you how this is going to happen. Right? I had this diagram regarding this. Hold on. Yeah. Now it's better you understand from this, right? Yeah. See now, this contains the data. Let me simplify this to you. Hold on, people. Right. So this is the data which happens at the application layer, and it can be compressed and encrypted and do all these things, right? So here comes the segment, right? So the segment happens at the transport layer, right? And that should be the answer for our question, because they are asking transport data unit, right? They're asking transport protocol data unit, right? So the transport layers protocol data unit is going to be the segment, the third one, right? But it's better you have this idea. In transport layer, you have the segment. So segment is going to be the TPDU, transport protocol data unit. And packet is going to form in the network layer. So packet is going to be the what? NPDU, network protocol data unit, right? And the frame is going to be the data link layers protocol data unit. So as per the abbreviation, we can say DPDU or DLPDU, right? as the data unit, which is given in the data link layer. Packet is there for the network layer, right? So in simple terms, it's better you understand in the transport, and we had this from the diagram that we drew, the big diagram that we drew. In the transport layer, you will find the segment. In the network layer, you will find the packet. In the data link layer, you will find the frame. So these are called protocol data unit, PDUs, right? Right, so it's better you have this little chart diagram එක නම් ඕනේ නැහැ. මේ පැත්තේ layer එක කියලා indicate කරගත්තා නම් much better. This is regarding the layer. This is the PDU. Right, take it down, people. Right, now these papers are going to be like that. From starting from 217, there will be some certain new things for you to understand and learn. All right, can we move forward? Okay. So it is asking, right. So it is asking about the transport protocol data unit. It's going to be the segment, right? And in the 20th one, we missed the 20th. 172.16.48.200/24 is. Now, they're asking about the a class, right? Now, what are the ranges? From 0 to 127, we consider it as A. From 128 to 191, we consider it as B. From 192 to 223, it is C. From 2244239, it is D. From 240 to 255, it is E, right? And to become, if a particular IP address is going to belong with a particular class, the first octet value should be within these ranges, plus you should have the corresponding network bits. What are the corresponding network bits? If it is class A, net ID bits should be 8. If it is B, net ID should be 16. If it is C, net ID should be 24. If it is D, it's going to be 32. We are going to talk about only A, B, and C. We are not referring to the D and E, right? So those factors should be considered. Yeah. Now 172.16.48.200/24, 172 belongs in the range of B. But look at the net ID bits. It says 24. 24 net ID bits can be found in the class C addresses. right? If it is going to be a classful one. So definitely it's not going to be a class B network. Because of this, because of the net ID bits, it's going to be an incorrect one. And it says the second one, network address of a class C network. Again, class C going to be taken away because of the starting octet value. If it is going to be a class C, it should start from 192 and 200, in between 192 and 223. So it is not there, so it is incorrect again. Host address in 172.16.48.0/24 subnet. They're talking about the host address. Hold on. Yeah. They're telling the above address, the host address in this particular subnet. You can make a network address. Right? And that, of course, can be a true one. Because the given IP is what? This is the given IP. 172.16.48.200/24 is the given IP. So this 24 indicates what? Bits in net ID. Right? So the network address means what? 172.16.48. That indicates 24 bits. So that's not going to change. And rest of the things are going to be zeros. So which gives you 172.16.48.0. Right? So third one should be the answer for the 20th. Right? This should be the correct answer. Did you get that, people? Okay. So why the fourth and the fifth is incorrect? The fourth says the network address of a subnet with 255 hosts. Not 255 hosts. How many hosts are here? Hosts, there are hosts, no, there are 24 net ID bits. That means there are 8 host bits. So how many hosts are here? It's 2 to the power 8 minus 2, which gives you 254, not 255. Because of that, it is wrong. Host address with 8 network bits. No, it's not 8 network bits. It is 24 network bits. So because of that, 50 is wrong. Right? Okay. Moving forward. 24. Which of the following data flow diagram is correct with respect to the rules of data flow modeling? Now, what are the modeling rules? Like if we take about the data flows, what are the eligible data flows? You can have a data flow from entity to entity, but that should be a dotted line. You can have the data flow from entity to process, straight line. You can have a data flow from process to a data store, straight line, right? Those are the data flows that is possible, right? So in between entities, in between a process and an entity, in between a process and a data store. So that brings to you what are ineligible. What are the ineligible things? You can't have a data flow in between, straight away in between an entity and a data store. Entity එකේ ඉඳලා data store එකට එක සැරේ ඊතරයක් ගහන්න බෑ. That is wrong. Right? You can't have a data flow from data store to data store. That is wrong again. You can have a data flow from process to process, right? So in that place, it's better you remember what are the things which is not possible. It is easy to remember. In between data stores, incorrect. And what else? In between entity and a data store, incorrect. Right? So here in the first one, they are asking it in a little bit tricky way. Which of the following data flow diagram is correct with the respect to the roles of data flow modeling? Okay. The first one, it shows the flowing in between an entity and process. But if you look into the answers, they're asking the correct one.
Daddy, who's this? What's this animal?
I really don't remember the name. Is it Blue Griffin?
No,
I don't remember. Who is that?
I don't know.
Come, I'll find it for you. The blue one. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's Blue Jay.
Oh, Blue Jay! Yeah, that's Blue Jay.
Yes.
Blue Jay. Blue Jay, Blue Jay, Blue Jay.
Right? So the first one seems to be correct. But if it is going to be a correct one, even the second one is going to be a correct one, as well as the third one. So it means this is not just checking about a partial data flow. The main first, second, third, they are like partial data flows. The entity එකකින් process එකකට flow එක ගියාම එතනින් data එක නැති වෙන්න බෑ. Right? It should reach to a particular data store. Right? Or some process should happen, then it reaches to the entity again. Right? Something like that should happen. Right? So here, so first one is partially correct. Partial. This is also partial. Right? And this seems to be okay because you have sent something to the process. Process is processing that and sending something again to the entity. Right? There is no, there isn't something like there is no rule to, there is no rule that you have to, that is a must to store something in a data store. Right? There will be certain things to store inside a data store, and there will be certain things which you can have the output without storing the data store. Right? Not a problem. Right? Api scenario sandina kotat ඔය ගැන කතා කරා. Data store එකක store වෙන්නේ නැතුව input එකක් තියෙනවා, process වෙනවා, output එක තියෙනවා. That can happen. Fifth, now first one partial, second one partial, fifth one, this flow is wrong. Right? Now the problem is what's the difference, what is the correct answer from the third and the fourth? Namai vinadiyak. Right. So the third one seems to be, third one is correct. Fourth one is also correct. So like a flow happens from A to B, from B to data store flow is there, and from B to entity is also there. So yeah, now the marking scheme says it's the third one for the 24th. So what's the wrong with the fourth? Yeah, it seems to have no wrong with that paper. Yeah, fourth one also can be taken as a correct one. Yeah, let me refer it again and tell it to you. Third and fourth both are correct according to my knowledge, right? If we take a payment process, right, we can illustrate it from here. So if this is the customer, if the payment happens and bill will be produced, right? So this can be still as billing process, right? Same scenario can be applied here, right? So again, payment goes, bill receives from the customer, and copy of the bill will go to a data stores called bills, right? So which is a very possible data flow. I look into that, people. According to me, it's third and fourth, both are correct, right? 24th. Okay, I look into it. Right. Moving forward, 26th. Which of the following statement is true about e-businesses, right? It is a business process which conducts partially online. It is a business process which conducts partially online. Partially online, partially is going to be a problem. It consists of front-end and back-end online processes. Yes, of course, because front-end online process can be like logging into a particular account. eBay can purchase korot. Front-end process is like we are logging into the eBay and we are ordering that. Back-end online process means once we are done the payment will be checked by sending it to the particular bank and to the merchant, and we'll check it and having the confirmation. That is a back-end part. So yes, second one is possible, right? Third one, why it is wrong? All brick vendors conduct their business online. No, definitely not. Brick means offline. So it is clearly wrong. Any e-commerce application is an e-business application. Any e-commerce application is an e-business application. Yeah, because we generally, oh, right. So that gives us two answers. 26th. Yes, it has 2 and 4. Right? Yeah. Why this is correct? Because we say e-business is the bigger one. E-commerce is a part of the e-business, right? So it is actually a subset of e-business, right? E-business means the entire business process, purchasing the materials, production, the distribution, advertisement, all these things. E-commerce means it's just the buying and selling process, right? So e-commerce, so like e-commerce is a part of e-business. Fifth one is definitely wrong. E-business application is an e-commerce application. No, there can be e-businesses applications which is not belongs to the e-commerce. The application lies over here is not an e-commerce application, right? So this is wrong. So it has two answers, second and the fourth. Right, after 26, it's 28. Which of the following statement is true about artificial intelligence? Inference engine in an expert system completely mimics human decision-making process. Completely mimics කියන එක පොඩ්ඩක් ගැටලු සහගතයි. Right? Because it can't completely mimic that. Right? Completely mimicking means like it is identical to a human brain, which is not possible so far. Right? So that is wrong. Right? So knowledge base is an expert system consists only the primary knowledge of an expert, not the primary knowledge. All the knowledge should be there. So because of that, it is wrong. Expert systems are always implemented by using genetic algorithms. No, there can be other algorithms as well, right? Like the neural systems, right? Or the cerebral patterns, right? So we can't say always implemented. Genetic algorithms provide only one solution to a given problem. No, genetic algorithm is going to provide many solutions, right? So genetic algorithm වලදී අපි සරලව කතා කරේ those are AI technologies. So AI technologies means something similar to the human brain process or the human thinking process. So when we are having a problem, we are not just comes up with only one particular solution. We will have alternatives. Right? So for that reason, this can be taken as an incorrect one. Fifth one, genetic algorithm evolves a solution for a given problem over a number of iterations. Yeah, that is what you call genetic algorithm. Right? So you can take the fifth as the correct answer. Right? So for 28, it is the fifth. Yes, it is the fifth. Okay. 30th. Requirements of a system can be classified as mandatory, desirable, functional, and non-functional. ATM of a bank shall not allow more than 3 attempts to enter user's secret number incorrectly. Right? And you can remember there was a way of writing these particular things, right? And now you are going to figure out whether this is a mandatory one, a desirable one, or a functional one, or a non-functional one. Right? Hold on. Yes. Yeah. So like ATM of a bank shall not allow more than 3 attempts to enter a user's secret number incorrectly. So this is talking about a limit, right? More than 3 attempts. Right? So if it talks about limits, it is definitely a non-functional. Right? So functional means what is the function, what is carried out by the system. Right? Now here clearly talks about a limitation, not more than 3 times. So that means a limitation. Right? So it is non-functional clearly. And this is kind of a thing which is essential. Right? That means mandatory. So it should be mandatory, non-functional. But you may find a problem with this word. Right? Because the syllabus says should goes with the mandatory or the essential ones, shall goes with the nice to have or the optional ones, right? So the 30th, yeah, they've taken the second one as the correct answer. And yeah, let me find this. Yeah, in the if I refer from the note, I was searching for something additional. If we refer it from the note, so it tells us this. Yes, I was the one who was mixing it up. Essential requirement defined with shall. Yeah. It's my bad. Right? They are nice to have requirements defined with should. Yes, people. So nothing wrong with the question. Right? So shall means clearly the essential. Right? So the mandatory and non-function. Right? Yeah. People, will you excuse me for a moment? I need to go for my kid. Just give me a few seconds. Actually, the few minutes. Right. Sorry for that. Okay. So yes, Deelaka, if you want to figure out the functional and non-functional things easily, how we are going to do that? ඔයාගලන්ට non-functional figure out කරගන්න හරි ලේසි. නිතරම බලන්න එතන limitation factor එකක් කතා කරනවාද? Limitation factors කියන්නේ මොනවද? If you think about the factors like accuracy, efficiency, right? Effectiveness, productivity, right? ඊළඟට security. The මෙතන කතා කරන්නේ security option එකක්නේ. Right? Those things can be considered as the non-functional requirements. Right? Again, think whether this particular requirement is need to be there to perform the task that the system is supposed to do. Right? Then, api mobile phone එකක් ගත්තොත් mobile phone එකක call එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා කියන එක, it's a functional requirement because the goal of that system is the communication. Right? So dialing a number, a user should be able to dial a number, functional requirement. User should be able to compose a SMS, functional requirement. Right? And if we say user should be able to connect with the receiver or the other party within few seconds, that is a non-functional. Right? It describes a limitation. A mobile phone should be less in weight. It is a non-functional. මොකද අපේ call එක ගන්න phone එකේ බර බලපාන්නේ නැහැනේ අපිට. phone එකේ color එක බලපාන්නේ නැහැ. Right? ඒකට බලපාන්නේ මොනවාද? keypad එකෙන් නැත්නම් touch screen එකේ number එකක් type කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. SMS එකක් type කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? So those kind of things. Got that, Deelaka? මේ ATM machine එකටම relate කරලා කතා කරොත් නේද? ATM machine should be the ATM machine system or the ATM machine should be able to provide a place to type the PIN number. So PIN number කියන එක අපිට ATM transaction එක කරගන්න උවමනයි. So it's a functional requirement. Right? ATM machine should have a number pad. Functional requirement. මොකද number pad එක නැතුව ඔයාට numbers type කරගන්න බෑ. Right? ඒතකොට කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් කිව්වොත් the number pad is going to be in some particular color කියලා. It's a non-functional, clearly. මොකද number pad එකේ color එක අපිට දාලා නැහැ. But number pad එක කියන එක, it is a functional requirement.
So එතකොට දැන් අර mobile phone එකක් ගත්තම ඒකේ අපි keypad එකෙන් number එකක් type කරද්දී අර මේ beep sound එකක් එනවනේ.
ඔව්.
ඒකත් non functional.
ඒක non functional නේද? මොකද අපිට beep sound එක උමනා නැහැනේ මේ number එක type කරගන්න. keys ටික විතරනේ ඕන වෙන්නේ. ඒ beep sound එකක් generate කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක non functional. ඒකෙන් එන්නේ user ට assurance එකක් එනවා මේ key එක එබුණා කියන එක. ඉතින් ඒක යට screen එකේ පේනවනේ. Right?
හරි සර්.
Okay. Right. So after 30th, then the 31st. Yes. Consider the following relation to answer questions 31 and 32. Student, we have index number, national ID number, name, date of birth, gender, blood groups. Where index number is a unique attribute and the name attribute fully depends on the index number attribute. Now that is an important thing. Where index number is a unique attribute Ramani, very sorry. විනාඩියක් දෙන්න. Right. So index number is a unique attribute, and the name attribute fully depends on the index number attribute. That means name fully depends on the index number attribute, it says. So index number is a unique attribute, it says. It doesn't say index number is the primary key attribute. Unique attribute. Unique attribute means it contains unique values. එකිනෙකට වෙනස් values තියෙනවා. Name කියන එකේනා මේ index number එක මත totally depend කියලා කියන්නේ. Which of the following statement is correct with respect to the normal form of the above relation? It is in zero normal form. Now, if it is to be in the zeroth normal form, what is the requirement? There should be non-atomic values or unwanted repetition of columns. So it has index number, national ID number, name, date of birth, gender, blood group. There is no any unwanted repetition. We can't say whether the items are going to be non-atomic since we don't have it, since we don't see anything as the data. But index number is unique. We know national ID number. We generally know it's not going to repeat, and it's one set of data. Name, it says name depends on the index number, so we can assume it's going to have atomic values. Date of birth, gender, blood group, those are the data which contains only one item. Date of birth kiwa dinaya vitarai. Gender ka either male, female. Blood group A positive, B positive, something like that. Right? So it seems to be all atomic and no repetition of columns. So first normal form qualified. Then the second normal form. To become the second normal form, all non-primary key attribute must be totally depend on the primary key attribute. Now, if we assume index number as the primary key, they haven't told anything about that. If we assume, it says the national ID number belongs to the person. Name definitely depends on the index number, no problem. Date of birth depends on the particular personal. Gender again depends on the person. Blood group again depends on the person. So it's all the things seems to be the attributes of a particular person or a particular student. So we can assume its second normal form is qualified. So third normal form, it says what you are going to have is transitive dependency should be eliminated. So if index number is the primary key, national ID number, name, date of birth, gender, and blood groups are the thing which are going to be non-primary keys. And since it does not have any relation, we can't see any direct relation, right? In between gender and blood group, gender and date of birth, or blood group and date of birth, gender and name, national ID number and name. We can't see anything depends, right? හැබැයි ඔතන කෙනෙකුට argue කරන්න පුළුවන් date of birth and the national ID number partially depends කියලා. Right? ඒක ටිකක් arguments එන්න පුළුවන් තැනක්. මොකද පරණ ID number එකක් ගත්තත් අලුත් ID number එකක් ගත්තත් ඒකේ first digits ටික it depends on the date of birth. Right? Actually the birth year. එහෙම ඒ තරම්ම දුරට හිතුවොත් අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් transitive තියෙනවා කියලා. Right? So what was the answer? The 31st. And they have something called its normal form cannot be decided කියලා. Right? ඒගොල්ලෝ වඩා සාධාරණ තැනට යයි. අපි බලමු කොහොමද කියලා. 31st is the fourth that they say. Yeah, they have taken it as third normal form. ඔතන cannot be decide කියන තැනට අපිට යන්න බෑ. මොකද index number එක unique කියලා දීලා තියෙනවා. national ID number එකත් unique කියලා අපි දන්නවා. So ඒ දෙන්නගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් තමයි primary key කියලා උතන්ට එන්නේ. Right? අපිට ඒක assume කරනවට වඩා it is pretty obvious. Either the index number or the national ID is going to be the primary key. So depends on that we can argue. Again, the argument that I made, date of birth and national ID number, they are related to each other කියන එක. එහෙම බැලුවොත් ඇත්තටම second normal form කියන තැනින් නතර වෙන්න ඕනේ. But they haven't gone that deep. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලොත් එතනට හිතන්න යන්න එපා කියලා නැත්තම්. Right? Because again මෙතන තියෙන්නේ මේ they haven't said this particular national ID number is the national ID card number. නැත්තම් ඒක ලංකායම national ID එකද මේක වෙන රටකට අදාළව කතා කරනවද? They haven't mentioned anything about like that. So don't go for other specifications if they haven't mentioned it. Right? So on that reasons, the answer that you can go is the fourth one. Right? But it's a little bit mixing it up. Right? Which of the following can be candidate key of the above relation? Candidate keys. So candidate means someone who is no, you haven't asked about that. Oh, anyway, someone who is qualified to be a primary key. So it's the national ID number. Rest of the things are not going to be like that. Okay, so then 35th. Assume that above relations are converted into tables in a relational database that following SQL query is executed on the database. Select all from book author. Right? So that is regarding these schemas, right? These are the schemas. Yeah. So they say when book number and author ID are unique attributes in the relation, book and the author respectively. Okay, right. So it's kind of a many-to-many relationship, right? So what they are asking is, yeah, select asterisk from book author. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the output of the above SQL query? Right? It cannot be an empty table. Cannot be an empty table. Select all from book author. Yeah, have they say like there are this much of things or data are there? Yeah, if the book and author does not got anything, then it can be an empty table. But if it has the records, that cannot be an empty table. Right? So it seems to be partially correct. Right? Let's see. Title column is in it. No, title column is not going to be there because book author means this particular relation. It has only book number and the author ID. So definitely the title column is not going to be inside it. Name column is in it. Definitely no. All the tables, book author and book author are used to produce the output. Not again, right? It's just one table. All records in the book author table are in the output. And that's a pretty obvious one. all records in the book author table are in the output. Yeah, that's a concretely correct answer. Right, so because it says select asterisk from book author. Book author means this particular table. So select asterisk means select everything. Right, so comparing to 1 and 5, 5 is going to be much obvious answer. Okay, let's quickly discuss the 36, 38, and 40th. So we will be able to continue from that by next week class. So 36. Consider the following statement regarding the data definition language, DDL, used to create the table book author while maintaining the data integrity. Okay. So it has a primary key constraint. Yes, it has. It has foreign key constraint. Yes, it has. It has domain constraint. Yes, everything should be a correct one. Why? Because it says considering all the integrities. So book number and author ID are going to be the foreign keys if you think about the book and the author table respectively. But if the relationship is many to many, this book number and author ID together will be considered as the primary key of the book author table. So that means primary key constraint is also there. And when we are writing a particular table, when we are creating a particular table, it is must to have a particular data type for a particular column that is going to be in the table. So that means domain constraint is going to be there automatically. Right? Primary key is a primary key constraint, foreign keys is a foreign key constraint. Data type එක define කරන නිසා domain constraint එක තියෙන්න. So for 36th, it's the 5th one should be the answer. Right. 38. Which of the following statement is correct? Application software load applications into the main memory. The programs stored in ROM are known as system softwares. Definitely wrong. This is called the firmwares. Right. System software support data communication between peripheral devices. Operating system is one of the system software that helps in data communication between peripheral devices. So on that aspect, this can be taken as a correct one. Utility software is generally stored in ROM. No, wrong. It is stored in the hard disk. Utility software are incorporated in various washing machines. No, not actually. Not actually. So it seems to be the third one for the 38th. The correct one. Application software load applications into the main memory. Not that neither. It's the operating system which loads the application to the main memory with the help of the other particular softwares, not the application software itself. Right? So the third one is going to be the answer. System software support data communication between peripheral devices. So those are one of the management part that it is doing under the device management. Right? So 38 is the third one. And finally, the 40th. Consider the following statement regarding CSS used in HTML. One style sheet can define the rendering of HTML elements in multiple documents. Yeah, that is correct. This is regarding the external CSS. Right? No additional download is needed to import style sheets. No additional download is needed to import style sheets. Let's keep it. The HTML document must include link tag. Are they talking about an external? Yes. Here they are. Which of the above statement are correct when using external style sheets, it says. So then B is correct. C is correct. The HTML document must include link tag. Link tag is the one which defines which kind of CSS that we are going to refer. So A is correct, C is correct, definitely. A and C must be in your answers. So that means Not the first one, not the fifth one, not the third one, either the fourth or the second. And both of them does not contain B. Right? So we really don't need to bother about the B. D says the style attribute is required in relevant element. No, this is regarding the inline statement, not regarding the external style sheet. Right? So definitely the second one is the answer in the 40th. Okay, so that brings the end to the today's session. So people, I'm going to end the session from here. By next week, the rest of the questions, we are going to start from the 42nd up to 50th. I think the Python questions. So then the second paper is going to be discussed, right? So please have a very good analysis about the 2017 onwards, people, right? Because 17, 18, 19, and 20, those goes in a very similar pattern, more into the two, starting from 218, 18, 19, 20 කියලා කියන්නේ ගොඩාක් similar විදිහට ගියපු papers තුනක්, right? The same panel is there for you to create the paper, right? So be careful, right? Okay, so I'll see you on next week for the very same time. And regarding the physical classes, people, like අපි කලින් කතා කරාද කියලා මට මතක නැහැ. කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලෝ ආයිසරයක් කන්ෆර්ම් කරන්න මට මම group එකට message එකක් දාන්නම්. Commencement of the physical classes අම්මලා තාත්තලා කැමතිද කියන එක. right මට මගේ කැමැත්තට මෙතනට ගෙන්නන්න අපහසුයි. අපිට කරනවා නම් බොහොම carefully class එක arrange කරගෙන යන්න වෙනවා. right තාමත් මේ situation එක එච්චරම okay නැති නිසා. So, but if you really want, we'll arrange some arrangements, but I prefer online for some particular days as well, right? දෙපැත්තටම okay. එකක් ඕගොල්ලෝ විභාගයට යන්න ඉන්නේ, ඕගොල්ලෝ එන්න යන්න ඇවිල්ලා traveling වලදී හරි අතරමඟදී හරි class එකේදී හරි මොකක් හරි ගැටලුවක් වුණොත් අපරාධේ මේ දැන් කලුත් ගිහිලා තව මාසයකට දෙකකට පස්සේ ඕගලන්ට exam එකට යන්න බැරි වෙන එක. right? මොකක් හෝ හේතුවක් මත, right? ඒක නිසා think about all the things, right? And let me know, right? I'll throw a message to the WhatsApp group as well. Okay, Dilaka, I'll count that, and you give me the feedback, right? Okay, people. So I'm going to end the session from here. Just for today, I'll see you on next week, and I'll let you know whether it is how it is going to happen. Either it is from the online or offline, right? Okay, so thank you very much, people. I'm going to end the session from here.